Force will be with you.
Always.
Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Let me know what you think if you saw it today. So I just saw it. I came out of the theaters literally about 50 minutes ago. So here's my really quick thoughts. Real quick, no spoilers in this. So I'm going to try to stay far away as possible. I'm going to use spoiler talk for my podcast next week. And I'll give more updates about that at the end of the video. Wow. This movie is going to be very divisive. It corrects a lot of the stuff The Last Jedi did wrong. I am a person that's not the fan of The Last Jedi. I think it is a decent movie, but it's a terrible Star Wars movie. It's my least favorite Star Wars movie, besides The Phantom Menace. And that movie had so many flaws in so many ways, and it set up different things that I didn't want to happen. This movie just completely puts the whole series back on course as best as possible, I feel. The action scenes are great. I think the story that they were telling was pretty good. There are holes in the story, and this movie does ask you to accept a lot when it comes to the Force, Jedi, Sith, Palpatine, all that. It's asking you to accept a ton. So once you get past that and you accept what this movie's trying to do and accept all the stuff that they're introducing, I think it's really enjoyable. I think this is the best sequel trilogy movie, so better than Force Awakens and better than The Last Jedi. And overall, I think the character arcs are a little bit hindered because of The Last Jedi. I think Finn's character arc should have concluded in this movie. It would have been a better experience, and I just feel he doesn't really have that much to do in this movie. There's no story for him. Poe we learn more about, and that's cool, but he doesn't really have his whole arc completed. Rey has a very good arc. Force Awakens, Who's Her Parents, Last Jedi, she doesn't really have an arc in a sense, but this movie gives her a good arc in the 2.5 hours of the movie. And I do like the story we're telling. I think Palpatine, the way they brought him back was okay. They don't explain anything about how he's back. They just say Sith powers, whatever. I know I'll be explaining the books. It's already been explained in Star Wars lore how the Sith can, keep their life going and stuff, and their Sith energy, and they kind of talk about that at the end. But overall, it was just such a solid movie. I gotta say, this year, man, it's been a good year for Star Wars. The Mandalorian, and then this. What a way to cap off this decade with Star Wars. Disney turned it around with this movie, I gotta say. And I wish they had kind of a plan for these three movies, not letting Rian Johnson completely mess everything up. I think J.J. Abrams should have done 7, 8, and 9. I think it would have been a better complete story. The humor in this movie is pretty minimal. I'm actually surprised. Like, in The Last Jedi, it was overbearing. There were so many comedic jokes that I just didn't care for. And in The Force Awakens, it was kind of like that, but not as bad. And there's some surprising returns. There's a ton more lightsaber action. I mean, The Last Jedi didn't have lightsaber on lightsaber combat at all. This has that for you. And I think the most important thing is this felt like a Star Wars movie. The Last Jedi, and sometimes even The Force Awakens, doesn't feel like a Star Wars movie. To get to the complaints, Rey obviously is super powerful. They kind of explain towards the end of the movie why, and this is a pretty big gap from episode 8 to 9. So she's been training. Is she still a Mary Sue? It's hard to say. I think this movie does give reasoning for it, but it doesn't explain why she's so good in episode 7 and 8 when she hasn't had training. So in those two movies, yes. In this movie, she still kind of is, but not that much. So I'm going to rank this movie out of 10. I think The Force Awakens is an 8 out of 10. I think The Last Jedi is a 6 out of 10. I'm going to give Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker a 9.0 out of 10. Next week, I will have a video ranking the Star Wars movies. So my personal favorites, that include Solo and Rogue One. And also next week, I'll be talking about The Rise of Skywalker in full depth spoilers, all of that next week on my podcast. So please stay tuned for that. And thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Did you like it? Did you hate it? And then kind of give me your personal rankings of the Star Wars films.